Okay, so I've added another layer of my terracotta color here to the wall, to this dark wall, which is the darkest. Those are our darkest darks right here, so we're building those. I've added some detail in here, just scruffling up these tiles a little bit so they're not so perfect. Probably do the same thing with this wall over here. This with a pretty dry brush. I'm just scrubbing this in just so we know that there's texture in here in this wall. And we'll probably add some more color to this. Maybe not too much though. So I kind of like this color, the value of this, but we'll make it look more rough. Dry brushing is a good way to do that. Just with a pretty dry brush. It's hard on your brushes, but it's a good way to get the texture. I've added a little frame around the window just for interest, because I really, that window was lacking. So the focal point is actually right here. This beautiful detail of the lantern in the doorway, actually. So that's where we're going to concentrate our efforts. Keep all this simple back here. So I think we'll go ahead and start with the lighter greens. So I think I'll just take my leaf green, just a nice vivid green, and just add it in some places here. Just paying attention to where the lights are. This is that leaf green that I love so much by Da Vinci. Holbein makes a really nice one too, but this one is my favorite. The light's hitting all up in here, of course. Since the sun is coming from this direction up here. So just randomly putting in some of those beautiful greens, and as it gets dark down here, it's going to change to a darker green. So I think we'll take a little of our, let's use our Green Gold by Daniel Smith, which is just a slight darker tone, as you can see there. Put in some mid-tones in there along this edge. It's just a slightly darker green. If you don't have that, you can just add a little bit of your blue to your green to your leaf green that you do have. That's probably enough of that. Now I'm going to go down into the geraniums, which have a kind of a brighter green. So let's take some of that jadeite and mix it with the light green and just simulate some leaves on that. It's all the way up in here. I've masked out the actual blooms, so we don't have to worry about losing those. That's a nice mid-tone green, which is a little bit better, I think. Here, I'm going to take them off here. Just suggesting leaves here. Nothing in particular. All right, so we'll let that dry. We're going to come over here and put in some of these greens. Now they're a different green for this plant, so we'll go in with the jadeite green, which is a much deeper green, and just suggest some leaves here and there. You need a good pointed brush for this. You can see the different greens give it a lot of interest. And I'm going around where I have the whites masked out. And kind of following what I see here. Some outlying leaves here and there. These vines are everywhere in Italy. It's just beautiful how the plants that they, see if I can get a pointed leaf here and there. Maintaining the shapes if we can. Here, just working our way down. Trying to do the best contrast by putting the darkest darks next to where the lightest lights are going to be. Of course, it's very dark down here in the center of the plant and over to this side. And a few leaves over the edge of the pot. And out here. Keeping a nice organic shape, loose. Don't want to overwork this. That's going to be hidden by that door, which also we can go ahead and darken with the jadeite. While we're doing that, let it all merge together. And just suggest that door's down there. Nice color, that jadeite green. That's a Daniel Smith color. It's Primatech. It granulates, but for the door it'll be okay. Give a pretty sharp edge there. Clean that edge up right there. We'll darken that edge later. All right. I like that. We're gonna decide on the number there. All right, so since I've got this really dark here, I'm gonna go ahead and put some of it in here where these darkest darks are. Not everywhere though. This is very dark down here. We don't want it a solid dark. Very dark up in here. There's actually a wall here, I think. Very dark over in here. And then a less dark up in here. Paying attention to the edges on the top and the bottom. So we can do some nice variegating areas up in here. There's even some darker areas up under here, where the shadows would be. But again, this isn't the focal point, so we don't really want to overdo this. I'm going to drop some of this in here just to suggest there might be a wall back here. Give us some nice variation. This whole thing is probably a wall, truthfully. Since vines have to grow from somewhere. Just dancing the brush around underneath. Some of these areas. It's a bit too much. If it's too much, just blot it off until you get the look you want. Get some leaves sticking out here and there. All right, we're gonna let that dry and see what we think of that. This actually only has two colors, the dark and the light, on that vine. There is a plant back in here. It's like a fiddle leaf fern. I want to try to kind of put in. And it actually, several of them. So we won't do too much with that. Okay, we're gonna do a third mid-tone green in here. Maybe that green gold again. Let's see if that gives us enough contrast. Yeah, that gives us some interesting vine effects here. These actually have very shiny leaves, these geraniums. So put some more leaves in there. Let's add some just texture over in here, over in there. I'm happy with that. I think I want to do my sky, my sea a little brighter in here, just to get it to stand out a little bit more. from the sky. And over here. Let's make sure that line meets this line. Carry that horizon line there. All right. I'm liking that. Clean my brush. Get this terracotta pot. It's just a slightly different color. And this shadow. And that's just mixing in this color here that already had some blue mixed into it. So it's just giving us a duller, darker color here. Just to darken this wall. Apologize for the fan in the background, but I live in the South and it is very hot. So I'm gonna go up under here, some of these areas, and just darken this wall. Anywhere that I might want that wall to peek through. Soften that line right there so we don't get a harsh line. Come on down with this dark side over here. I want that to be a little bit in shadow. Actually, that whole thing. Actually, even under here, this side a little bit. And we'll darken this down here a little bit more. Let's just give some texture down here. All right. Let's darken this row of tiles because that is a downward facing plane. There's a lot you have to pay attention to when you are doing a painting. You have to keep in mind your perspective. Okay, I'm gonna add some more of this with a little bit of that beautiful burnt orange by Core. Really get this dark and vibrant here. Keep these edges as clean as you can. Put that down in there. That's just more of that quinacridone burnt orange, which is sadly, I think, being discontinued because it's a PR 206, and I think they're discontinuing that pigment, which upsets me because it is one of my very favorite dark colors. So let's put a little bit of that in there, blot that a little bit. Hopefully they will come up with a pigment similar. Oops, did not want to do that. I used to paint with a lot of different brushes, but I've pretty much figured out that I can do whatever I want, primarily with one or two brushes. Now we're going to go very dark over here. So let's add a little bit more terracotta just to get a difference in value right here and right here. Still building our darks, and if you know how I paint, I tend to build my darks gradually. It just works better for me. This is almost like a velvet color. Ooh, we need to clean that up, don't we? Just don't be too precious with your strokes except on the edges. and you won't have to worry about pick a towel and see if I can clean that edge up right there. Actually, I'm gonna get my little scrubber brush. Just dampen it and clean that up right there. Just like that. Great. I am liking this. I am gonna fill in the rest of the light area just so it makes sense, because it is glass. Still got to define this a little bit from the other, so I think maybe we will put in a slightly different color on this terracotta, maybe just straight terracotta. Let's see what that looks like. Okay. Liking that. Okay, we're going to have to pick out some of this detail in here. So let's let this dry and see what we do next.